Once you've decided which part of your garden you want to turn into your native garden to attract more native biodiversity to your area, you need to go out and measure it. So I'm using this example here in my back garden. I've got a little weedy bit beside the shed and the hedges decided to die. So once you've been outside and done your measurements, you need to come inside and draw up a plan. I find using gridded paper really useful for getting it to scale. Put in your measurements and features, like in my case, the concrete at the neighbours, that it's going to dry out the area and make it very hot. The shed, which is going to shade things, and the 3-metre high hedge at the neighbours, which also provides shade. I've also put in my existing veggie garden to remind me that I don't want to shade it, and the bit that I need to keep as a pathway so I can get down there. Once you've got all those features in, put in where north is. That tells you where the sun's going to come from and the prevailing winds. I've also put in where the storms come from. I colour code where it's going to be full sun, shade in the afternoon, and in this case shade all winter, so I need to choose plants that can tolerate shade as well as sun. And then lastly, put in your soil type. In my case, free draining, very dry in summer, volcanic soil. Once you know what your site is like, now you can start to choose appropriate plants. So in my case, I'm looking at small trees that don't provide too much shade to the veggie garden, that can tolerate sun, wind and dry, as well as shrubs that can tolerate those things, and also a bit of part shade because I want to have things that can go down in that area that's shaded in the winter. I want some low ground plants because I want to create layers of vegetation to attract all sorts of different species to my garden. Once you've made the list of plants that's suitable for your site, you can then choose which ones you actually want to put into your site. Look at what you like the look of, as well as when they fruit and flower and what you want to attract to the area. So redraw your plan with your measurements in, but a blank space in which to draw what you're going to put in. I just draw circles because I can't draw plants very well. So in my case, because I've taken out the dying hedge, or I want to take out the dying hedge, I want plants that can be trimmed so that the neighbours can trim them on their side and we can if we want as well. And because of that, I can also space them slightly closer together than I would if I wasn't going to make them into a hedge. So I've chosen 4 small trees / large shrubs in terms of species, but repeated some of them. And then in between, I've put in ground plants so that I get those layers of vegetation, so that we've got habitat for invertebrates and lizards and things that like to live closer to the ground, as well as the taller tree layer, and to attract the birds and things that like to live up higher. And lastly, in my plan, I've drawn very roughly some piles of dead sticks and branches to remind myself that I want to keep things like that in there, so that it provides homes for the invertebrates and lizards and all the things that I want to attract to my garden.